Welcome back to The Wandering Screen. I'm Matt Koss, and today I'm looking at Monsters, the Lyle and Erik Menendez story, and our fascination with tragedy. Now, American Crime Story. I'm sorry, this is Monster. Monster is the anthology series centered on stories about murderers, whereas American Crime Story centers on notorious crimes and criminals. You know, American Crime Story had the one with Darren Criss killed Versace and O.J. Simpson, easily confused. Late in Ryan Murphy's new season of his Monster anthology series, writer and investigative journalist Dominick Dunne, played by Nathan Lane, notes that society has grown tired of the Menendez brothers and their legal saga in which they're defending the murdering of their parents. After high-profile cases like Rodney King and O.J. Simpson, there's this palpable desire for cultural normalcy. This feels particularly relevant to Ryan Murphy's anthology, which often straddles the line between compelling drama and exploitative spectacle. The series continues Murphy's trademark exploration of notorious criminals, but with Monster, it risks veering into familiar, uncomfortable territory, where it's a relentless focus on the perpetrators at the expense of the victims. To me, the essence of the season can be summed up in one word: dramatization. The show isn't just about recounting events, but instead curating the viewer's experience and awareness of the crime. It's that voyeuristic retelling of tragedies experienced by real people whose victimization doesn't end at the conclusion of the court case. It's actually the very same reason that I couldn't watch the first season of Monster that focused on Jeffrey Dahmer. There are so many moments in Monsters where no one is present in the scene but the four family members at the center of the horrific murder. It's a show about the reliability of testimony through a sensationalized lens and whether victims of abuse are doomed to repeat the same onto others. Essentially, we're not just relying on the testimony of the brothers, but also of the writers, which includes Ian Brennan, who has worked on a large number of Ryan Murphy projects, including Glee. After the Dahmer series, family members of the victims claim the series capitalized on their tragedy without involving them in the project. So this later season, it must be asked, when they're looking behind closed doors, are they fabricating narrative for the sake of entertainment? How much needs to be dramatized and shown to viewers of this story to create something entertaining and engaging enough to sustain
9 hours of television?
Monsters Menendez comes off as exploitative and unfocused, and after the 5th episode, my partner and I had to break down the timeline of events to find clarity in the chaotic storytelling device. The show is determined to not have a point of view so the audience can decide for themselves what really happened, but through what are essentially reenactments with a fantastic cast and conversations that are predominantly based on hearsay, it's hard to differentiate the story from what it's trying to achieve. Let's say it together: entertainment. I have to say, I didn't love this series. I was exhausted by the end. There are elements of the creativity behind some scenes that are really wonderful filmmaking showcases, particularly the 5th episode, and I think coming into the series without any prior knowledge of the crimes helped with my fascination for the first few episodes. But between unnecessary fantasy sequences and repetitious scenes played again in different ways to challenge perspectives and your trust of the storyteller, the series takes a bit of effort to get through. So what's the story about? In 1989, music industry CEO Jose Menendez and his wife Kitty were horrifically murdered in their home in Beverly Hills. Sons Lyle and Erik pointed to the mafia as the culprits, but in a bizarre turn of events, the brothers confessed to the murder to an unlicensed psychologist, Dr. Azil, and his patient-turned-mistress, Judalon, confessed to being aware of recordings that ultimately led to the brothers being arrested. While the performances are undeniably compelling, particularly from Nicholas Alexander Chavez and Cooper Koch as the Menendez brothers, the series seems to aim for awards rather than authenticity. Javier Bardem and Chloe Sevigny delivered nuanced performances as the ill-fated parents, though the exploration of their story in episode 6 might have been entirely omitted from the series. It's really was Emmy bait. If you weren't terrified enough of Javier Bardem from his turn in No Country for Old Men, then Monsters will surely get you there. It's hard to say he's terrific when Jose Menendez is framed as entirely reprehensible until the final moments of the last episode. Savini is such an interesting actress, and she adds a complexity to Kitty that may have otherwise been two-dimensional in a character who relies on booze and pills for sanity. The stars of the series are really Chavez and Koch, who put so much effort into their characters that the central question of who is telling the truth permeates through their eyes. If their tears are gripping you into a sense of sympathy, then the quickness of their facial adjustments when they hear something against their beliefs will turn your stomach. I thought Koch in particular was engrossing, but Chavez has this kinetic Tom Cruise in a dramatic role energy that totally sizzles. What is a Ryan Murphy drama without the undertones of repressed homosexuality, which are generally exemplified through prancing around in Speedos? If you want your murderers to be hotties, then this is the show for you. Queerness is once again, after Dharma, American Horror Story, New York, and Versace, a reason for murder. Something beneath the surface that explains trauma. It's quite superficial at times. Why is it that the queer characters in Murphy's work seem trapped in cycles of self-loathing and tragedy? The exploration of these themes feels less like an honest portrayal and more like a formulaic approach to shock value. The 5th episode is the centerpiece of the series. It's a bottle episode for all the TV nerds out there. In a single shot, we see Erik Menendez in conversation with his lawyer, Leslie Abramson, but we only see Abramson from behind. We're over her right shoulder, slowly pushing in as Erik recalls his history of sexual abuse at the hands of his father, and we stay on Erik the entire 35 minutes. Now, did this interview take place? Is it just an episode written for television? Should we believe anything he's saying? This is where the series shines, because that doubt that lingers in the back of our mind at times throughout the entire 35 minutes surfaces and retracts and surfaces and retracts. We're talking to a monster and wondering if he was made, but we're looking at this kid stripped of his elitist costumes and accessories, wondering what trauma is supposed to look and sound like, and if he really was pushed to the edge. In the end, Monsters Menendez is excessive in length and sensationalism. In the quest for captivating storytelling, we should also consider the cost of our fascination with tragedy. Dominick Dunne was right. We can move on from this and be better for it.
And we are never gonna fucking go back. You don't murder your parents that way. Literally defacing them. That's not about money. That's about something deeper and darker.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for all the latest reviews, and tell me in the comment section below what you thought of the series. See you next time.